and welcome to Tareekh. In today's episode, we'll be doing something different. We will be discussing a book called Episodes in the Life of Akbar, which is written by an acclaimed historian and professor, Shireen Moosvi. And in today's episode, we will be discussing two episodes from this book. The first episode is Humayun's marriage to Hamida Banu Begum. Humayun was the second Mughal Badshah of Hindustan, and both of them were actually parents of Akbar, and we all know who Akbar was. And the second episode is birth of Akbar. He was the third Mughal Badshah and the greatest of all.
Now, the account of the marriage between Hamida Banu Begum and Humayun has been given by Gulbadan Banu Begum, who was the half sister of Humayun. And this account is a part of the history that she wrote for Humayun on the request of Akbar, which there is the official manuscript has been translated by a net beverage, and that is what is available to us. Gulbadan Banu Begum's manuscript on Humayun itself is incomplete, and its primary motive was to supply information to Abul Fazl for his masterpiece, Akbarnama, and the incomplete manuscript is housed at the British Library. Now, from Gulbadan Banu Begum's memory, she remembers that there was a time when her brother Mirza Hindal, was crossing the river Indus on his way to Kandahar. When Humayun came to know of it, he questioned Mirza Hindal about his motives and if he's going to Kandahar. And Mirza Hindal, of course, said, no, you have an incorrect information, nothing of that sort is happening. But Humayun had an inkling, and so he visited Mirza Hindal. And at the time, Mirza Hindal, Gulbadan Banu Begum, and their mother, Dildar Begum, were together at the camp. Dildar Begum was Humayun's stepmother. Now, to receive Humayun, Dildar Begum holds a banquet, and this is where he sees Hamida Banu Begum. So he inquires about her because he is at once enamored. And so Dildar Begum, informs Humayun that Hamida Banu Begum is the daughter of Mir Baba Dost, who is, a fond acquaintance of theirs. And Khwaja Muazzam, who was right in front of Humayun, is also who is Hamida Banu Begum's brother. She said of him that, he is also a fond relation of ours. Now, undano, Hamida Banu Begum would often be found at the camp of Mirza Hindal. And the next day, when Humayun goes to visit Dildar Begum, he says, since Mir Baba Dost is such a fond acquaintance of ours, it's only befitting that, his daughter be married to me. Because, it's such a known person, it's such a familiar acquaintance. Why shouldn't I just get married to her? But Mirza Hindal was very protective of Hamida Banu Begum, and he, had a feeling that, this is an emperor who is on the run. Of course, he's an emperor, but there is no empire to rule as of now. He's still fighting to gain ground. SMA, how could he provide for Hamida Banu Begum? Would he be able to provide for a gift at the wedding? Because there was a customary exchange of gifts that would happen. And would he be able to cater for that? After the marriage, would he be able to look after her? If they're on the run, how will he protect her? So all that was going in his mind. And Humayun, felt slighted. He got angry and he left. But Dildar Begum takes initiative, and she writes to Humayun ki, when you are asking for a hand in marriage, it is but natural that the girl's side will show a little, or they will throw a little tantrum. So, it is very odd that you got slighted and you left. You could have stood your ground, you could have countered. So when Humayun found that, he liked the answer, and he's like, acha, aisa hai, so, I'm very happy, and, whatever you ask of me, I'm ready to do. So, and that is how he started the process of wooing Hamida Banu Begum. So the next day, Humayun again visits Dildar Begum, and, he requests for her to send somebody to Hamida Banu Begum to ask her to come and meet him. But Hamida Banu Begum is a woman in her own right, and it is believed that she said that, I've already met the emperor once, and it's not required for me to meet him again, so I'm not coming. The next day, it is said that Humayun sent Subha Kuli to Mirza Hindal to ask him to send Hamida Banu to meet with Humayun, and Mirza Hindal says, ki, I have tried my best. She is not listening to me. So if you can go and talk some sense to her, you go. So Subhankuli goes to Hamida Banu Begum and he, asks her to come and meet Humayun, and she says to him, to meet for a woman, to meet a king once is lawful. After that, we become strangers, and for a woman to now meet a stranger is unlawful. So I am not going. So she had a lot of sass in her in that day and age, considering. So when Humayun hears Hamida Banu's answer, he says, if it is unlawful for her to meet me, I will make it lawful. Like, I will marry her and make it lawful for her to be able to meet me freely. But Hamida Banu Begum did not back down, and it is said for almost 40 days Humayun kept trying to court her and she kept refusing. Finally, Dildar Begum might be losing her patience, so she goes and meets Hamida Banu and she says, enough. You have to get married to somebody. Eventually, you have to get married. So if you are getting courted by a king, that's a good thing. So might as well get married to an emperor. And Hamida Banu says, that might be right, but I would rather get married to somebody whose collar I can reach, rather than somebody whose skirt also I cannot grasp. Now this could either allude to the fact that there was a height difference between the two, or she might be thinking that, whatever you say, that's an emperor that we're talking about. Maybe he's an emperor on the run, but that is maybe too high a post for me to reach, and there might not be enough love. So if he's marrying me, it might just be for the sake of an alliance or a marriage, and maybe Hamida Banu would want to marry out
Hamida
of
Banu
love.
was looking for a partner rather than an emperor.
Exactly. And also there is the fact that there was a considerable age gap also between them. It is believed that she was in her teens, whereas Humayun at this time was in his 30s. So that could also have led to her not being willing to get married to Humayun. After Hamida Banu Begum makes the retort about not marrying somebody whose skirt also she can't reach, Dildar Begum really scolds her, and that is how after 40 days of continuous attempting to court, they finally get married. In 1541, Humayun, who himself was very fond of astrology, he himself picked out an auspicious date and time, and they were married by Mir Abul Baka, who was given 2 lakh dankas as marriage fee. And although Hamida Banu Begum was not willing to get married to Humayun in the beginning, after they got married, they were nearly inseparable, and she would accompany him throughout his journey wherever he went. And it is likely, or it is very likely, that she developed a sense of companionship and maybe even affection towards Humayun. It's also interesting to note, despite the time frame that we are discussing right now, a woman was allowed to voice her opinion and disagree with what was being offered to her. And although Humayun is an emperor and he could have, forcefully married her, he also took his time to coax her and to court her to marry him. So I think that is also something very important to keep in mind. I mean, of course, you can always say that she was scolded into it or whatever, but then the fact that she was allowed to dissent is a very important aspect when we are discussing women and their spaces, particularly in the medieval period.
Especially Mughal, because we would see Gulbadan Banu Begum writing a text, a book, a story, a biography at that point of time. That means Mughal women were well read, they were given that education. Even if you look at Babur's sister Khanzad Begum, she used to take important decisions when she returned to him. Then you have Hamida Banu Begum, who was another, she was strong not only then, before marrying Humayun, but even after that, she was made the governor of Delhi by Akbar when Akbar was not there. So women were given that chance. And about giving chance, as well. And as in, today is a time where giving a chance should not be the case.
Yeah.
Everybody has the right.
Like you would imagine that
Yeah.
since we're in the modern age, we
Yeah.
would have evolved from that time.
Yeah.
But when you consider that time, they seem to be a lot more modern in their outlook
Yeah.
compared to present day.
Yeah. Now this thing is that the question of allowing should not be there.
Exactly.
Yeah. So it is everybody's right to exercise
Yeah.
their opinion or their right. But at that point of time, how people perceive medieval times, especially that women were not allowed to do this or that. But here we have
Considering it was a monarchy as well.
But
we
yes,
don't have equal rights.
yeah. But yes, I do understand because they were aristocratic people. Women had a say, but many other aristocratic families, even in the medieval time, women had no say, right? But they were an exceptional case.
Yeah.
The second episode that we'll be talking about is birth of Akbar. तो Akbar के birth के बारे में his aunt Gulbadan Banu Begum has also written, and Abul Fazl, who is his court historian, he has also written in his Akbarnama. But in this particular episode, we'll be referring not to Gulbadan Banu Begum's text or Abul Fazl's Akbarnama, but as it is given in the book, we'll be referring to Johar, who is an Aftabji, that means a water bearer, who was with Humayun for some time, especially when he had fled from Marwar region. So he was with Humayun, and he also started writing about Humayun between 1586 to 87. But none of his work has published as such, but still what all passages that is available, a lot of historians have referred to it. But इनके text में there is a difference. According to Gulbadan Banu Begum and Abul Fazl, they have mentioned the date of Akbar's birth. Gulbadan Banu Begum has mentioned 14th October 1542, and Abul Fazl has mentioned 15th October 1542. But आफ्ताबजी जो हैं ये थोड़ा स्लिप कर गए डेट के मामले में. ही मेंशंस इट्स 23rd November 1542. So that's slightly different. But what his account states that when Humayun was on and he fled from Marwar. But Hamida Banu Begum did not accompany Humayun at that point of time because she was left in the state of pregnancy with Rana of Umarkot, which is in Sindh, and his name was Rana Prasad. बट एक क्या हुआ जो इंसिडेंट जो है जो आफ्ताब जी ने लिखा है वो ये है कि वंस Humayun had encamped near a tank, and after the morning prayers, news comes from Umarkot that he is blessed with a boy, with a son, and for obvious reasons Humayun was really happy, and he felt thrilled, he felt happy, and he felt blessed that he's been blessed by a son. Johar Aftabji writes that he was born on the 14th night of Shaban, that is 23rd November 1542. And why he was named Jalaluddin was because he was born on the night of full moon, that was on a Saturday, and the full night of full moon is called Badr. So it's almost similar to Badruddin, which is the light of faith, something related to faith, that he's the light of faith. So that is why he was named Jalaluddin, that he's born on the night of full moon, and he'll be lighting both the worlds with his light and with his glory. So that is his interpretation, that he was born on this particular date. But that is not the case. He was born either on the 14th or 15th of October. But what Johar writes is when after the morning prayers are over and when Humayun gets the news of Akbar's birth, his nobles come, they arrive, and they congratulate Humayun, and Humayun is really happy. And then Humayun asks Johar that I had given something to you that to keep it safe. So do you have it still? And what was it? So Aftabji says that 200 sharukhis, which are coins, hand armor made out of silver, and a pod of musk. And then he says that by the order of Majesty, he gives it to the treasurer. But then Humayun says, who told you to do it? It was for you. But then say, no, it's by your order that I have given it to them. But then Humayun orders that please bring the pot of musk, and he puts it on a china plate and distributes it amongst his nobles and his people that today is the auspicious day, today is the day that I want to, spread this happiness and spread my happiness with you people. Obviously because he was on a run. He was trying to recover the empire that he had once lost. And at that point of time, when you get a good news, obviously it is very thrilling, it is very auspicious, it gives you that joy. So that is what Humayun did at that point of time. A lot of sources suggest that Akbar's birth was actually predicted by a saint, a Sufi saint who belonged to Hamida Banu's family, and he said that this particular child is going to glorify your name. He's going to be one of the greatest rulers that the world or the time had seen. So, for obvious reason, he must be very thrilled that that son has been born, and God knows what कि क्या ये इसकी किस्मत लेके आएगी और क्या ये मतलब एम्पायर को हो सकता आगे बढ़ाए the way I want to see it.
What happened
What happened? Obviously, Akbar was the emperor. Babur and Humayun were still struggling to form an empire. You cannot call them a perfect balance of how an emperor or Bacha should have. But Akbar, yes, he, through his wit and through his intelligence, he kind of achieved what Babur and Humayun could not achieve.
Exactly.
So that's all for today. Today we have discussed 2 episodes from this particular book. I hope that you have liked today's episode. Please like, share and subscribe and keep watching Tareekh.